Okay, hello, my friends. I have 9 big stories for you today. Some are just catching us up on things that we are already familiar with and maybe putting a little nuance on it, but 9 stories. So we'll start with this. The new version of the mineral agreement looks as if Ukraine lost the war to the U.S., was occupied, and is now forced to pay lifelong reparations, according to the Washington Post, citing Ukrainian officials. Yeah, I mean, I was talking to Greg on the phone this afternoon, and I was just like, I find this thing so embarrassing, like that we would do this to Ukraine. It's just, as an American, I find it embarrassing. The document does not contain any security guarantees, and it is formulated as a mechanism for compensating for funds provided by the U.S. In its current form, the agreement has no chance of being signed, and we were of like mind too that there's no way that the Ukrainians would sign this agreement, and Donald Trump is losing more and more leverage over Ukraine as days go by. You could promise that you're going to give more air defense, I guess, but as far as what is actually going to them, it's kind of running out. Okay. Putin, next big story, wants to destroy Ukraine. Nothing has changed. Basically, Putin is withdrawn from negotiations. Peskov said, we're not honoring this 30-day agreement. Forget about this. The Ukrainians have broken it. Well, the Ukrainians didn't break it, but you understand. Putin is preparing for a summer military campaign, and he believes he can significantly improve Russia's military position. That's what's coming next. It's going to be a 3 to 6 month campaign from everything that I'm reading. Putin is not going to end the war. He wants to end it on the battlefield, and he wants to take more ground. Putin does not believe that Trump will make him stop and push Russia out of the oil market. He doesn't believe that Trump's going to push back at all. And I haven't seen any evidence of him zagging. I've seen him only zigging toward Russia, not zagging against Russia and toward Ukraine. Putin's statements yesterday about how he will crush Ukraine and put it under external governments, under the UN management, are now his new fantasies. He was talking about this. The UN was like, that's not happening. They're a legitimately elected government. You can say what you want about them being Nazis, but they were elected by the people. Russia will soon be spreading the narrative that Ukrainian government is illegitimate and that it does not control the army. So we must realize that, in fact, we've entered a new cycle of the war. The Ukraine-EU United States negotiations are important now. Okay, so, but nothing's going to happen here. They're going to talk about it and then talk about it some more, but nothing will happen. By the way, this little video image, this little clip that you're seeing here is just a little piece of the 35-minute clip that Greg Terry translated yesterday. I showed you this. Where was it? Here. This is the same background where Greg and I went over everything in that video, and it was something to behold. Okay, next. Now, here's what Putin does want to do. Ukraine brought home bodies of 909 fallen soldiers. Some bodies were returned from the morgues in Russia. He wants to add to that number, and that's his plan. He has no intention to have peace. Trump wants peace, but I don't think Zelensky wants it. I don't think Putin wants it, so they're not going to have peace. You only need one side to want to continue to fight, to have to continue to fight, and both sides want to continue to fight. Okay, this is Mitch McConnell, Senate. Next big story. Senator Mitch McConnell saying he reiterated that sending military aid to Ukraine is far less costly than becoming embroiled in a war in Europe. That's exactly right. We're trying to prevent World War III, but the way to prevent it is to help Ukraine win it quickly. Okay, former Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell warned in a speech on Thursday that the U.S. negotiators trying to end the war in Ukraine are headed for a Russia wins, America loses headline if they agree to a deal that achieves only an illusory peace, which is what they're doing. I mean, funniest comment that I've heard in a long time was Zelensky saying Wickoff is probably good at property development. But he's not that good at, and he didn't say this, but he's not, I'm saying this, he's not that good at negotiating like diplomatically. He said, this is, again, McConnell, unless we change course, the outcomes that we're headed for today is one we can least afford. And again, that is Russia wins, America loses, and we don't want to go down that path. Now, the Finnish president was asking a really interesting question. I mean, I know you have Kaja Kallas in the EU, but he said, Europe needs its own Ukraine envoy. Who do I even call? Stubb says. This is the Finnish president, Stubb. EU should appoint a special envoy for Ukraine, just like the U.S. already has. Quote, we need a proper negotiation team like the Americans, Ukrainians, and Russians had in Riyadh. I think that's fair. And then we'll need someone to actually coordinate it all. Right now, even with France and the UK stepping up, the question is, who is the EU's point person? Who do I call? I think that's a great question. And by the way, why does Russia get to veto or overrule having Keith Kellogg negotiate, but Ukraine doesn't seem to have the right to overrule or veto Witkoff? I mean, this seems pretty unbalanced to me, but the EU needs to be involved in this process and do it sooner than later. German intelligence, next big story, warned that Russia may attempt a limited attack to test NATO's response. I think that is possible. I don't know that it will happen, but I think that's possible. The way that Putin seems to calculate is, let's see, let's test, let's see, let's push the boundaries. Let's see if they'll do. Are they going to respond to this? And they didn't respond when like drones went down in Romania. Okay, let's. So I think there might be something along. I don't know that he will, but it's possible. It said Russia is going to replenish its military losses and produce more weapons that are needed for the war. Okay, I think that's certainly going to happen, but whether Russia pushes and tests NATO, that's a really interesting open question. And then here's a German headline in Welt: return to the German nuclear power. It's actually looking like this may be breaking. Major nuclear companies ready to restart 6 German nuclear power plants before 2030. In a statement exclusively available to Welt, nuclear giants Westinghouse, Framatome, and Urenco back a rapid revival of German nuclear power plants. That's amazing that they're going that direction that quickly. Oh, the war has changed a lot about the way people think about things. Okay, next big story. So this is Pete Hegseth, and I'm pretty sure this is his wife. Why are we talking about that? Pentagon chief took his wife to a secret NATO and UK talks, according to the Wall Street Journal. Pete Hegseth, U.S. Secretary of Defense, brought his wife Jennifer, a former Fox News producer, to classified meetings with NATO and the UK. The topics were weapons for Ukraine and stopping intelligence sharing. Ooh, okay. Jennifer has no official Pentagon role, and it's unclear if she even has security clearance. Some of the meetings were confused by her presence, but nobody asked questions. So that could be another misstep for Hegseth. Now, whether he's going to have to step down, we saw this headline I talked about earlier this morning. Waltz might get axed after signal scandal. Vance is pushing for it. He added the journalist to the secret signal chat, and that became a problem. I didn't show you this, though. This is Polymarket. Mike Waltz out of the Trump administration before May, 18% chance. Pete Hegseth out before July, 12% chance. I think it seems like Waltz, who invited accidentally invited the journalist in, is in more dangerous position. I was saying, like, don't rejoice about that, because this is the guy that's probably closest toward sympathy for Ukraine. And but we'll see how that happens. Now, this stuff all matters, because what Hegseth does and what Waltz does, that's going to have an impact on Ukraine. Michael McFowle, next big story, asks if Doge can let taxpayers know how much of our money was spent on this stunt. He's talking about Vance flying to Greenland to the U.S. military base. He spent 3 hours on the base and then flew home. Well, that was partly because the Greenlanders didn't really want any more attention there than they had to have. Jesse Waters was talking about this, and now this is on Russian media where they're translating what he's saying here, and it's painful to watch. I already can't stand watching Laura Ingraham anymore because she's all in on MAGA. It looks like Jesse Waters is going down this kind of path as well. He says, we don't need friends. If we have to burn down a few bridges with Denmark to take Greenland, we're big boys. We dropped A-bombs on Japan, and now they're our ally. America is not handcuffed by history. Oh, boy. Okay.
Friendly to the world is what got us in this mess. We're not in high school. We don't need friends. Every country puts their interest first. And when our interests align, we can do business. And when they don't, that's life. If we have to burn down a few bridges with...
Okay, and there he goes with if we have to burn down a few bridges. Yikes. Okay. I also saw this. I thought this was interesting. Jake Bro pointed this out about the American economy, which has just had a bad week. I was just looking at, my own stocks and things along those lines. It was like, what just happened here? This won't mean anything to you if you have never studied technical analysis, but the S&P 500 sold off and fell below 200 a day moving average. It then recovered for a week and immediately sold off after bouncing off the 200 moving average. This is a confirmed new downtrend in the stock market, and all trading algorithms and technical traders are now treating it as a downtrend. America is heading for a recession and a bear market this year because of Trump's economic policies. Things like tariffs are scaring the market and things along those lines. Now, I'm not enough to even of an economist to be able to, or stock trader or that sort of thing, to be able to understand exactly what he's talking about. But we know Jake Bro from this, but before that, he was doing this. Oh yeah, we got to see this. This is 4 years ago, Jake Bro. Let's listen to him.
Welcome back, everyone. In today's video, we're going to talk about buying call options. And this video is the second video in a series of videos I'm making on trading options. I will include the entire playlist down below in the event you want value.
Doing that. Look at this.
And the way I like to think of it is its potential. Its potential for what this...
How about that? Okay, now I'm not mocking Jake or anything. This is where I was just 4 years ago looking at things like this. And I had, a whole 21 views here on 4 must-have leadership qualities. And so we all had to start somewhere. All right, my friends, that's all that I have. We'll leave you with this meme. It seems like this could have some real meme potential. This is JD Vance off in Greenland, and I don't know what people will put in his hands or have over here in part of the meme, but it does have some potential. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the likes, the shares, the subscribes, and thank you for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine.